Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. November 27th, 2017.
Parbleu Anglaise. Okay, my friends, it is now official. Charlie Faker, a.k.a. Chicken Charlie, has now capitulated again to the open borders lobby, this time now signing a law that clears the way for bilingual education in Massachusetts public schools. In particular, we talked about this before I left last week. The politicians up on Beacon Hill, this was, by the way, bipartisan, with the exception of State Representative Jim Lyons, both Republicans and especially the Democrats, overturned a 15-year-old ballot measure that got rid of bilingual education from most public schools. In other words, Massachusetts was English only when it came to education, especially obviously in public schools, elementary, middle, and high school. Well, without even going back to the people, without even going back, you're overturning a ballot, at least ask the people if they agree with their will having, basically being overturned by politicians up on Beacon Hill. They didn't even bother. Baker signed the bill. It is now law. He signed it just before Thanksgiving, which would now allow school systems within Massachusetts to voluntarily teach bilingual education to their students. So it's not required for all the schools and all the school systems in Massachusetts. It's a voluntary program. However, it's expected that many schools and many school systems will adopt teaching at least two languages, if not many more, to students in the classroom. Why? They say there are at least 90,000 students, almost 10%, that are what are called English language learners. Most of them come from either legal immigrants or illegal immigrants, and they are not fluent or proficient in English. In fact, many of the children of illegal immigrants hardly know any English. None. And so they say that this hurts them when they're doing more complex subject matter, say, I don't know, like mathematics or biology or physics or whatever, so that this is hurting them in their ability to get a good quality education. And so now these students, if the school districts decide, if the individual schools decide, they will then be taught in their native tongue. So when we say bilingual, it's not what many people think, oh, Spanish, English, right? Spanish usually being the biggest language outside of English spoken in the United States. It can be English, Portuguese, English Han Chinese, English Arabic, English Russian, English whatever, German, whatever it is, English Korean. In other words, now schools are going to be given grant money and full support if they decide that they want to teach their children, their students, in languages other than English. Now, they say they have done this for two reasons. Number one, to improve the quality of education for the children of legal and or illegal immigrants, to help them succeed, they say, in mastering subject matters. And number two, it is part of making Massachusetts, not just Boston, but Massachusetts, very welcoming to immigrants from all over the world. And so the slogan now is, Boston is a city of immigrants. Massachusetts is a state of immigrants. We need now to cater to all of these immigrants and show them that we are tolerant and compassionate and have respect for diversity. They're going to be hiring a lot more interpreters. And depending upon the school, you're going to see Spanish spoken much more prevalently. Portuguese, especially in Brazilian areas, A lot of illegals are from Brazil. They're going to be they're going to have Portuguese interpreters. Obviously from Asia, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, from Eastern Europe. You will see more Russian, Ukrainian, Polish interpreters be brought in. From the Middle East, you will see them speaking Arabic, Farsi, Pashtun, numerous languages from that part of the world. In other words, you are going to see even more division, more balkanization, and more chaos in our school system. And what is to me absolutely incredible is that this is going to severely hamper the assimilation of these children into our society and into America. Because if I'm being encouraged to speak in my native tongue, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to keep speaking more and more in my native tongue. It provides a disincentive. It discourages me from mastering and learning English. But there's even something else in the bill. And I knew it was coming. And they don't want you to know about it, which is, I think, one of the reasons why they passed it just before Thanksgiving, because this is one of these poison pills that they like to add. And remember, I said this when we were discussing this issue when it was still being debated in the legislature. I said, mark my words, they're going to present it as a way to help immigrants achieve educational success, as being essentially pro-immigrant. But what it really is going to do, it's going to force bilingualism upon American students. Well, guess what? The law features a new component. I'm reading now from the Boston Globe. Okay, this is straight from the Boston Globe. The law features a new component that a growing number of schools, i.e. liberals, have been interested in pursuing, quote, a seal of biliteracy, which they now want to be affixed on diplomas of students who gain fluency in more than one language. What does this mean? What they now want to do is they now want to create a system whereby when you get, say, your high school diploma, they want to present a seal, not just that you passed or whatever of academic excellence, but that you have a seal of biliteracy, that you're not just fluent in English, but you're fluent in any other second language. They want to force or try to impose, is I guess the more accurate word, they want to impose and encourage, highly encourage, almost pressure students into taking on a second language. And not only that, they say that you need this seal to encourage more students because they want them to become bilingual in what they say is an increasingly global economy. And so what they're going to be pushing now increasingly are dual language programs. I knew this was coming. I knew it. So your child, say, will be heavily encouraged to master Spanish or Portuguese or Arabic or whatever the language du jour is. And as that pressure grows, basically bilingualism will be required, I'm telling you, in about 10 years from every student to graduate from high school in Massachusetts, at least in the public school system. Now, as somebody who speaks fluently 3 languages, and because I speak fluently in these 3 languages, I can understand at least 3 or 4 other languages. English, French, and Croatian. Croatian is a Slavic language, so I understand Serbian extremely well, Slovak, Ukrainian, not bad, Russian, not bad. My French, frankly, helps me with Italian and Spanish, because that's a Latin language. So I know 3 languages. Some may say not well, that my English sucks, but whatever, I know 3 languages. Yes, it's great. The more languages you know is obviously better for your career, for educational opportunities, for employment opportunities. But that's not the issue. It's also really good if you can master the English language and read and write properly. It's also extremely good if you know mathematics. It's also extremely good if you know geography and history and algebra and the hard sciences. In other words, there are many things you can learn that will be a tremendous asset to you in your life. The education system in the United States, its business is not to impose second or third languages on students. Why? Because this is an English-speaking country. And so what you're now doing is you are forcing students to now adopt a language other than English. And so what's going to start happening, and you already see it, is you are going to see Spanish become effectively a second language in America. And then you will see subgroups with Portuguese, Arabic, and some of these other groups that are now coming in. And what this means in plain English is the balkanization of the United States. A nation needs a common culture, and a common culture depends upon a common language. Whenever you have multiple languages prevalent in a society, you have separatism, you have cultural alienation, and you eventually have the breakup of that country. I know I grew up in a bilingual society, Quebec. There is always a separatist menace every 10, 15 years. There is constant tension between the English and the French. And you can see it in countries all over the world because there is not one unifying language. And so what's going to happen is this, and this is to me the big danger, is number one, immigrants and the children of illegals in particular are not going to be encouraged to assimilate and learn English. That's going to lead to more ethnic, cultural, and linguistic separatism. So rather than bringing us together, it's going to continue to encourage us to start tearing us apart. We're going to start having even more segregation, more division, not less. Number two, instead of us assimilating these newcomers, these new immigrant groups, illegals and legal, they're slowly assimilating us. Brittany, as an example, if you could reverse the clock back, let's say 14, 15 years, and is now going into middle school, having been born and raised in the United States, like her parents before her, grandparents came from Ireland, shouldn't have to speak any other language but English. If she wants to learn other languages, that's her business. But to now make it a requirement or to start pressuring students disadvantages her. Why? Because she doesn't speak Spanish in the home. She doesn't speak Portuguese in the home. I don't know. She doesn't speak Pashtun in the home. And so what this does is all of a sudden, instead of us imposing our language and our culture and our identity and our heritage, as we've always done in the past, on immigrants coming in, they are slowly imposing theirs on us. And then to me, the third and final point, which is to me an obvious point, if you're a teacher, you're in big trouble. Because de facto, what's going to happen is they can't afford all of these interpreters. They'll do it now. But down the road, I'll tell you what the pressure is going to be. No parle anglais, no job for you, baby. You're going to have to almost be required to be bilingual to be a teacher in the classroom. And I'm sorry, but that's not fair. You were born in America, you were raised in America, or you're an American citizen, then you have the right to teach your subject matter, whatever it may be, physics, biology, geography, history, whatever, mathematics, algebra, whatever, in English. You shouldn't have to be compelled to learn a second language. This is going to blow up in our face. And what is most galling of all, Look at the battle between the elites and the people. You voted in this ballot measure 15 years ago. You spoke. And yet they overturned the will of the people like this, without even blinking an eye. America is an English-speaking country. Nothing against any other languages, but that's who we've been, that's who we are, and if we are to survive as a nation, as a country, that's what we will need to remain. What this does is strike a hammer blow at the very fabric of our society. Bilingual education is a horrible, horrible idea. Agree, disagree, your calls next. Okay, my friends, so I see Captain, you get it, you can everybody, come on, this bilingual stuff it's easy, come on now, let's go. You know, I remember a time, call me crazy, like, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, when my parents around the table would tell me, you know, we came to Canada, pick a language, English or French. In other words, assimilate. Assimilate. This is your country, Jeffrey. This is where you were born, Jeffrey. This is where you're going to be raised, Jeffrey. Instead, now, we do everything possible to foster anti-assimilation. Call me crazy. I don't think it's going to work. Annie in Chelsea. Go ahead, Annie.
Hello?
Annie!
Oh, for a moment with that music, I thought my neighbor was having a party. Jeff, we're dealing with the old boy network. That's it. I don't know. But, Jeff, I have a message.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready. Go.
Okay. Hear no evil. See no evil. Speak no evil. Not my Senator Chief Crazy Horse, Pocahontas. I dare you. No. I double dare you. No, I triple dog dare you to denounce Amazon sweatshop. Go pound sand, you poster child for Ancestry.com.
Oh, she'll never do it. Bezos gives her too much money. You fraud, you. But I'll tell you this. I hear the Chief's Cherokee is phenomenal. Oh, nobody can speak Cherokee like the Chief. Joe in Chelmsford. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, isn't this a form of segregation?
Yes.
Isn't it going to just create less inclusiveness?
Yes.
I mean, it's totally separating people from where they are in the language they speak. It's the total opposite of acceptance.
Joe, let's just do it like this, just to show you. You're making a brilliant point, but let me give a concrete example. Let's say the economy in America just completely tanks. Okay, another Great Depression. And you call me up and you say, Jeff, there's nothing. There's either the soup kitchen or we got to leave. I go, Joe, we got to go. Okay, we're going to starve. Let's go to China. China's taking in immigrants, Joe. Their economy is booming because they stole all our jobs. So you and I go to China and we bring our little kids with us. Do you think if we landed in China and we said, you know, this Chinese stuff is a little too hard for us. We want you to educate our kids, not in Chinese, but in English. Everything in English. Math in English, physics in English, everything. Everything's in English. What do you think the Chinese would say to us?
Well, they would obviously, before we even went there, they would make us go through some sort of vigorous process to learn all that stuff before they would even accept us.
Yes. But let's just say they let us, they're dumb as we are now. And they just let anybody in, even though they don't even know how to speak Chinese or write Chinese. So we send our kids to, no, we're illegals, Joe. Let's even do it the real way. You and I, we sneak into Shanghai, okay, under all that pollution and smog. And we're like the illegals now. And we send our kids to Chinese schools. We take some welfare. We work a little bit under the table in some of those sweatshops, let's say working for Amazon. And then we send our kids to school, illegals. You think they would say, oh, no comprende Chinese? no problemo, we're going to teach your kids in English? Or would they say, you're in China now, buddy, and in China, we speak English. Sorry, we speak Chinese, not English.
If we were illegal there, I think we'd all be with blindfolds and a cigarette in our mouth.
I mean, my point is an obvious one. We're the only ones who do this. And that's not a compliment. 617-266-6868. Okay, the Senate now is about to take on tax reform. Evan Heidenrich has the latest on that. Take it away, Evan. 2:36 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, we do this. It's an annual tradition here at WRKO. A lot of children for Christmas are going to have nothing in their stockings. Nothing. Nada. Not even a lump of coal. You can really help a child, 8, 9, 10 years of age, just make their Christmas dreams come true with either a small gift or a small purchase. And this is part of WRKO's Gift-a-thon to benefit Widiko Children's Services. All you need to do is go to WRKO.com/gift to purchase a gift and see all the different children's wish lists. They really, honestly, some of these are almost cause tears to come in your eyes. Some of them just want a big bag of chips. Others want like a $3 toy. For them, any little thing will put a big smile on their face and make them believe that Santa Claus really hasn't forgotten them. It's sponsored by MyPillow. It's the most comfortable pillow you'll ever sleep on, trust me. Call now, 1-800-972-2316, or go to mypillow.com and use code word WRKO. And today, the person that we're profiling is Jennifer. She is 8 years old. She lives with her mom, her dad. She has a little brother, 2 older sisters, and 3 older brothers. She will probably have nothing for Christmas. That's how poor they are. They live in a very small apartment. She says that she loves to watch movies at her aunt's house. Her favorite movie is the Emoji Movie. By the way, that's also my Ava's favorite movie, but let that go. She says her dream is to be a cheerleader, especially for the New England Patriots, which is her team. So whatever you can do for Jennifer, please, would be very much appreciated. Go to WRKO.com/gift if you want to purchase her a small gift, or look at all the other different children's wish lists. Okay, my friends. Bilingual education is now the law of the land here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. School districts now are going to be heavily encouraged, it's voluntary, but heavily encouraged to teach the children of immigrants or of illegal immigrants to be taught in their own native language. That could be Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, Pashtun, Korean, Russian, Polish, whatever it is, to make them feel more comfortable, and they say to help them succeed at non-English, quote-unquote, subjects like mathematics and the hard sciences. And Baker says he wants immigrants to feel welcome in Massachusetts, and that's why he signed the law. Well, another person who wants immigrants, especially illegal immigrants, to feel welcome, this time in the city of Boston, is Macho Marty. So Macho Marty Walsh, listen now to this, is directing that tax dollars be used for a program where they're going to be putting up murals all over the city of Boston. So many of you have probably even noticed this. Big pictures are popping up. Many of them are in East Boston. Some are in Roslindale. And what they want to do is they want to compare and contrast. They have a couple murals where they compare and contrast the previous waves of immigrants to the current waves of immigrants. And so, for example, one located on the side of the Atlas Wines and Liquors in Roslindale features a Russian couple, Louis and Beatrice White, who founded the company in the 1930s following the repeal of Prohibition. So saying, hey, look, they Atlas Wines and Liquors, they came in, helped create a liquor empire. That's what immigrants do. Pictured next to them is Alex Castillo, a native of the Dominican Republic and owner of Digitech Electronic Solutions, a nearby electronics repair shop. Across town in East Boston, there's a second mural. This one's located on the side of a dentist office. And this depicts Carmelo Schieri. Who's Carmelo Schieri? He was an Italian immigrant from the 1930s who founded a long-running catering company now known as Sammy Carlos Delicatessen and Catering. And they even have him Schieri wearing a derby-style hat. So he's got like a hat, and he's juxtaposed by, I kid you not, somebody wearing a sombrero. And this person is apparently from Mexico. She is a Mexican community activist. And this person, wearing a sombrero, is founded the Veronica Robles Cultural Center to promote Latin American dance and culture. There's another one in East Boston. This, I think, from the city's Jewish population used to be there. And so this is now what they want to do. It's really a form of propaganda. And so what they're trying to tell you is that the current wave of immigrants are just the exact same as the previous waves of immigrants. And so according to this outreach official, Selena Barrios Milner, in the mayor's office for immigration advancement, we want people to embrace the immigrants of today in the same way that they embraced their own ancestors. And they want to emphasize that Boston is, quote unquote, an immigrant city. Now, 2 points, and then I want to go back to the phone lines. 617-266-6868. Number one, I hate it when globalists use the term immigrant city or an immigrant nation. You hear it all the time. America is an immigrant country. Boston now is apparently an immigrant city. Well, every country is a quote-unquote immigrant country. What, you think the Chinese were there first in China? You think the Germans were there first in Germany? I'm sorry to all the Islamophiles out there. I see all these coexist bumper stickers. I know you libs love Islam, but you think the Arabs and the Muslims were in the Middle East first? No. So every country is ultimately a country of migrants, of immigrants. And every city is ultimately a city of migrants, i.e. immigrants. You only say that to claim that there is nothing authentic, that there is no real identity to a country or a city by saying, well, it's basically just a multicultural hodgepodge. That's all they're really trying to do. It's another attempt to denationalize America and drain it of all patriotic content. That's all this is. Number two, and even more importantly, look, obviously there are wonderful immigrants that come to America, i.e., I am an immigrant. Okay? I immigrated from Canada. I'm an immigrant. I'm a naturalized American citizen. But the big difference between the previous waves of immigrants, and they list them in their mural, so they list them, let me list them, from the previous waves of Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe, from Irish immigrants, from Italian immigrants, from Chinese immigrants, you can run down the whole line, Vietnamese immigrants, is that those waves were legal immigrants. Many within the current wave are illegal immigrants. And that's the difference. And you can put sombrero hats all you want, and you can do whatever. You can put up community centers. What you're doing is you are importing people into this country who have broken our laws and violated our sovereignty. And that is the fundamental difference. Combined with a massive welfare state, so people, the previous waves of immigrants came to give, to contribute, to work, to pay taxes. They didn't come to live off welfare. That's the fundamental difference. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to equate legal immigration with illegal immigration. And what this is nothing more than a propaganda campaign with your money and my money. So, how do they make them feel welcome? They don't try to assimilate them. They don't try to Americanize them. God forbid they should even try to deport them. They now educate them in their language of choice at our expense, and then try to tell us that they're the same as all the other waves of legal immigrants. Now, you know what happens when you eventually follow this path? It takes a while, not overnight. You get a third world banana republic. That's what you get. And Boston, increasingly, is starting to look like the third world. A very wealthy elite with a lot and growing pockets of poverty. And what do the liberals do? They just keep bringing in more illegals after more illegals, and now they're going to give them bilingual education to boot. 617-266-6868. How to Destroy a Country 101 by Charlie Faker and Macho Marty Walsh.
It's an act of love.
I mean, yeah, really. Are they now like, I guess they're all, everybody's Jeb Bush now. I think Jebito won the election, not Donald Trump. Dan in Woburn. Go ahead, Dan.
Hold on one second. Hola, Jeffrey.
Dan, hola, my friend. How are you, amigo?
Buenos tardes, mi amigo. Hey, Jeff, when is it going to be racist to say English? Yeah, it's racist now for any of the statues. It's racist for white history, all these figures of white. When is it going to be racist in America to speak English? And let me tell you why I think it's coming. In the school district now, you know, it's racism and it's xenophobic to even put the honor roll down. They don't list them anymore. And then my daughter's class, she's in all honors classes. Last week, a liberal teacher said next year we're going to have 2 classes because there's no black children in the honors classes, and they're just as smart as all you kids. The only reason they're not here is because their parents don't tell them and society doesn't tell them they're smart. Yet my daughter's like, well, there's Asian kids in the class, and there's tons of Indians, and this is AP classes. And so basically they're going to water down the standards because they're worried that these intelligent students are not socializing with the blacks and Hispanic students, and that's not right, and we need the diversity. So essentially what they're going to do is lower the standards in the advanced classes just so they can learn the joys of diversity.
Dan, you nailed it. It's part of the dumbing down of America. And thank you for that call. That's what it is. And I want you to think about what's going to be going on in many of these schools. Your child speaks English, but many of the other children, for example, are from illegal families. So they're going to be speaking Spanish or whatever. I don't care. Polish, Russian, whatever it is. So they're going to be taught in a different language from your own kids. It's bad for the children of immigrants, and it's bad for the native U.S. kids. It's bad for everybody. Look, I'm old school. My mother spoke Croatian in the home. We didn't speak English around the dinner table. Later, when her English got better, they threw me in the pool. They said, sink or swim. Go to school, learn English. That's the only way to do it. Keep standards high, and believe me, the kids will adapt. But instead, what you're doing is now you're dumbing down your standards to try to accommodate the illegal immigrants. And I'm sorry, but that's wrong. Sandy, you're up next. Go ahead, Sandy.
Jeff, our President Teddy Roosevelt said we welcome all immigrants as long as that immigrant assimilates to our way of life. we have room for about one language, the English language, and we have room for about one flag, the American flag. What has happened to the Democrats?
They've sold out, Sandy. What they've realized is there's more wealth, power, and privilege that comes from betraying your country and going globalist and open borders. Look, what this is about, it's votes. I'll tell you what's going on. It's obvious. Marty Walsh and Charlie Baker and the Democrats, the establishment Republicans, are trying to play the game. Tell the illegals, come on down to Boston and come on down to Massachusetts. You get all the welfare you want. You get all the Section 8 housing you want, all the EBT that you want, all the mass health that you want, and we'll even teach your children non-in-Inglés. No Inglés. Come on down. The more that come, the more that vote for him. The more that vote for him, the more they stay in power. Who gets shafted? You. My friends, enough is enough. It's time to take our country back.
Tyranny stops here. You're locked into the Kuhner Report on WRKO, the voice of Boston.
Aaron in New Hampshire, you're up next. Go ahead, Aaron.
Hola. Gracias, Cuatro, for taking my call this Diaz, Jeff. How's that for bilingual?
Hola, amigo.
Three quick points, but one, this divides our schools. I mean, you're going to have this divides our society from such a young age, because you have the English kids that are going to be considered racist for not wanting to learn Spanish, and the Spanish kids are going to get a pass, and they're going to refuse to learn English. So you're going to divide our society before they even get out into the workforce. Two, if we have all these people with high school degrees and they're good people, they have a good education, they just don't speak English, they have to only speak Spanish, then we're going to have a need for sanctuary cities. And three, and a gentleman brought this up, is when I was in school, I took level 3 and 4 honors classes. And it was hard to get into those honors classes, but it was about mastering the English language and getting an extensive vocabulary so that you could, further your education or get a better job or do something like that. It's dumbing down society. I mean, that's going to be right out the window. Now it's just going to be, if you do speak English, you're going to be okay with it.
Yeah, any kind of passable, just anything that's semi-passable. No, you nailed it. Aaron, look, this is your call now is a reason why you're one of our best callers. I couldn't have said it better myself. You hit the nail right on the head. Jason in Middleborough. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Jeff. Who do you think is going to be paying for these teachers to learn all these languages? And if they don't want to comply, they're fired. So then we're going to have a lack of teachers. So where's the money coming from to teach them, number one? And then what happens when they don't want to?
Jason, look, two brilliant questions. Number one, it's coming from you and me. It's coming from us, the taxpayers. More. So they're going to need even more money, which means they're going to want to raise our taxes or tolls or fees or whatever. Or like I go back to the handheld cell phone use that they now want to ban. They need money. No matter how, they need money. In fact, during the break, I got a text from a former police officer saying already grant money is being allocated to police departments in anticipation of this bill passing, saying they want to crack down on people using cell phones, handheld cell phones, because they need to raise revenue. You see, having massive illegal immigration costs a lot of money. So it's like taking blood from a stone. As for the teachers, look, they're going to have the teachers' unions, I think, protecting them for a while. But you watch, the unions are in bed with the Democrats. And the establishment Republicans, the rhinos, always cave. That's what they do. They're Judas. They always sell you down the river. And they're going to eventually tell the rank and file, you want your job? You got to go bilingual. You have to go bilingual. You don't like it? Too bad. Pick up a second language. And the argument that they're going to use is, well, the rest of the world learns how to speak English, so why shouldn't you speak another language? Yes, many in the world speak English, but many don't. In other words, it's their choice. English is the language of the world. It's the language of business. So, yes, some people choose to learn English, but they don't force them. Here, you're slowly going to have to be forced. And that's the point. You should speak English in America. Look, call me crazy, okay? In Spain, you speak Spanish. In France, you speak French. In Egypt, you speak Egyptian. In China, you speak Chinese. And in America, you speak English. Now, if you want to learn a second, third, fourth language on your own, that's up to you. That's your personal choice. And immigrants who come in, like all those previous waves of immigrants, they need to assimilate to our way of life. And the first point of that assimilation is the schools and learning English. I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here, my friends. The melting pot worked, and it can work again. But only if we have the will to believe in it. It's one more reason why I don't care who the opponent will be. I am not voting for Charlie Faker the next time around. If I have to go third party, I will. But Charlie, I'm done with you. I don't know how they say it in Espanol. I'll say it in English. Adios, amigos. Blank off.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 3 o'clock.